Well, I've had friends say for lots of years, Deb, you need to do a podcast. And I would put it on my goal list, and it would always just get shifted from one quarter to the next because I was terrified. And I just didn't know so many things. And I'm a firstborn rule follower. I do things all by myself. I just, if I can't figure it out, well, then it just doesn't get done.
Yeah.
And so a couple weeks before you reached out, I just prayed finally, God just is like, okay, girlfriend, you just need to pray. And I prayed, and it's like, okay, Lord, this podcast thing keeps coming up.
Mm.
And I had been listening to your podcast for a long time. I had this notebook, the Wren notebook, where I would take notes from the episodes. And but I was still too terrified. And it's like, Lord, if this is going to happen, I need some help. I just cannot do it by myself. And I just left it thinking that God was going to let me off the hook. And I was like, I asked for help, and it's like, okay. And 2 weeks later, I swear, 2 weeks later, you reach out. And I just freaked out because like, Ren is messaging me. She doesn't even know who I am and all these things. And so, and God reminded me of that prayer. And he's like, I'm sending help. And so I had to say yes. I just had to, shaking knees and all, I had to. And so you sent me the Google Doc with all the information about flight. And I'm an old-fashioned paper girl, so I printed it off on the printer. Did not retrieve it right away because I think I was still like panicked. Like, what is it going to say? what is going to be required of me from this yes and God sending help? And my husband pulled that document off the printer, and he came to me, and he just looked at me. He handed it over and said, you need to do this. And I needed to do this. So I replied to you and said, I'm in. So that's how I discovered flight.
And the fact of all, and that's something that I have been reminded of lately, is that we pray, we seek the Lord, and we do the work and seek the Lord and say, is this right for me? And then we leave the results up to him.
That's right.
And so when we do that, and I'm saying this to myself, I'm preaching to myself, when we do that, that's when he can fully work and say, okay, this is what I want you to do. And there was no doubting that was when you told me that, I got chills back a few months ago, because I was like, that, I mean, when your husband, y'all didn't talk or discuss anything, it was just like he handed it to you and it was like, this is what you need to do. And you're like, okay, that's God speaks when we ask him, doesn't he?
Exactly.
So I'm overjoyed to hear that, because having you in the group, I think after minute 1, we fell in love with you. Everyone fell in love with you. And we kept saying, because I'm going to get you to tell about your profession right now, your business, but we know you're a life coach. And so every time we would come to a meeting over Zoom, we would do it once a week, you would say something amazingly profound and just gentle. And we would be like, oh, we need Deb in our life. Oh, we need Deb in my life. I need Deb in my life. I need Deb in my life. Like over and over, we kept saying that because of the just the graciousness and the countenance about you. And so we just fell in love with you. So it was a perfect fit for you to be in the group.
I loved every minute of it. And just that reminder, we need community. And we cannot do things on our own and by ourselves. We think we can. We think we should. We see people online and it looks so seamless to them. It looks so easy to them, but we don't know that there's a community of people usually behind them.
Yeah.
Supporting them. And I discovered community in a fresh new way being in flight. And those women are still so dear to me. And just that weekly accountability, that weekly getting together, seeing each other's faces, knowing we were all on the same page, all starting new, and that we can do hard things.
Mm,
And it's not hard, it's new. That's what I keep telling myself. It's not
mm,
hard, it's new. And but together we could share, like, this is where I'm hung up today, or
yep.
this is what's troubling me today, and this, I need a fresh perspective on this. And the group just stepped up. I mean, I've
Mm,
been in small groups before, but this group, there was just really something special
mm,
about it. And there was such a, boy, just embracing each other
mm.
and cheering each other on. It was really beautiful.
That's great. Well, you were definitely
Mhm.
a part of that. So I want you to be able to tell my listeners who you are and what you do and what lights you up about your business. Tell us.
I am a certified Christian life and wellness coach, and I received a certification like 7 years ago, and didn't really use that for like a life coaching business, like meeting with um, women one on one. I was speaking at the time, and oftentimes doing a retreat afterwards, we would gather together in life coaching. That skill just really helped as I ministered to those women at a retreat or a conference. My family then went through a really hard season where ministry stuff really had to be laid down for a while.
Mm,
And I wasn't sure how God was going to pick that up again, or if he was. Sometimes we
mm,
surrender and he gives it back after a time, and sometimes he doesn't. And
mm,
what he gave back to me was coaching. And I am just passionate about coming alongside women one on one, being their biggest cheerleader,
mm,
helping them discover ways that fear is keeping them stuck or in hiding,
mm,
and that there's freedom on the other side of that. There's freedom for all of us on the other side,
mm,
and what that next brave step is going to be for them, and maybe helping them see it in a different way that they hadn't before. Because um, the enemy loves us to stay stuck
mm,
and not move forward. And my coaching practice is foundational in the word of God, that we are
mm,
transformed. Romans 12:2 tells us, by the renewing of our minds. It starts with how we think about ourselves.
mm.
And so I love coaching. After every coaching call, my husband and I both work from home. I'll go out and he goes, "Let me guess, you just love coaching." After every session, I come out, it's like, "I just love coaching." And he just laughs because I say the same thing every time.
Mm,
But I really do. It brings life to me, that I can bring life to women, and
mm,
to see them move forward, a woman in transition,
yeah.
um, a woman just not sure that, it's been this way for so long. Can anything really change? Yes, 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 it can.
Mm, such hope in those words. And I love that you mentioned brave next step, your brave next step, because that is
Hmm.
the name of your podcast. And
Yeah.
you can hear, I heard the first, I think one of the first two episodes where you talk about your story of that really difficult time and how you had to lay some things down. And I was going to tell you two things. Number one, I need to meet your husband. I feel like we could be such good friends,
Mhm.
buddies. Just in what you've shared with me so far, he sounds just fun and a truth teller, right? So I
He
like that.
is.
And then the second thing is for your podcast. I know we're going to talk about a little bit about it in a minute, but it's so practical. Like I love the fact that you meet women where they are, and then you take the word of God that is foundational, like you said, that is so needed today in the world today. And I'm saying that even as believers, because what y'all
Mhm.
didn't just see, but I had a little session with Deb just a minute ago, because when we first started, she was asking me how things were going. And June was a little nutty, and I had some time to think the past few days while we were sweeping out our house and at our property. And um, just created the space for me to really do some deep thinking, and how sometimes we have to, not sometimes, we have to know the truth
Mhm.
so that we know when the lies are coming, that they are lies. And so I was sharing that with Deb, but Deb is so good with the practicality of things. So definitely check her out. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that. But we want to talk a little bit now about flight. We've talked a little bit about what you enjoyed about the community aspect of it. So let me ask you, I know that one feeling that you were feeling before starting your podcast was you were very fearful, very afraid, which I hear that a lot. And to be honest, I struggle with that with other things as well. So tell me any other feelings that you were feeling before starting.
Well, I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot. I'm a major walker and I'm always listening to a podcast. And they're also professionally done. And the technology piece was like, am I going to get this?
Yeah.
Do I have enough brain cells to figure this out? That was the question. And
Uh,
oftentimes the answer would be, I don't think so. I don't think there
mm,
are enough brain cells. And,
mm,
um, and so that was just really fearful to me. Like, what's
mhm.
the process? I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's what flight really, you created a program that just takes us step by step. You
Mm,
didn't overwhelm us in the beginning with all the things that have to happen between now and when you launch. It's
mhm.
like, this is what we're focusing on this week. And you would often say, we're not worried about next week. This is the week.
Mm.
This is what we're doing this week. And that was just so helpful for my brain that can go off the rails really fast because I'm a
Yeah.
learner. I want to know all the things. And
Mhm.
you were just like, no, vision, focus right here.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
I let all that other stuff go,
Yeah.
then that was part of the fear too. It's like
Mm,
I was fearful of things that I wasn't required to do yet.
mm, mm. That's
And
good.
so, um, and just that knowing of, okay, this is just the next step.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what we're going to do. And you sent emails and you had this great portal with videos and like that tech video. I must have watched it 10 times at least. It's like
Yeah.
watch, pause, do it, watch, pause, do it.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
that was invaluable to me. So those
Yeah.
types of things just really helped me. And then access to you via Voxer. I remember the day.
Mm,
I remember the day I Voxered Ren in tears
mm,
because I was working on my podcast art, and that was my thing for that week. And I was looking for a podcaster my age. I'm 62, and I couldn't find one. I have since found one that I really appreciate so much. I'm encouraged by her. But I Voxered Ren in tears. Like,
mm,
am I too old to do this?
mm,
Am I too old? You need to be honest with me and tell me. And because I felt so discouraged, like, who's going to want to listen to an old lady on a podcast? And
mm.
you replied, and you had two words for me: no, ma'am. No, ma'am. And you sent that to me on a piece of paper that you wrote. I printed that off. It's on my bulletin board. I look at it every day.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah.
No, ma'am. And so that Voxer access, the portal with all the information, you over delivered in this program like by a bazillion. Whenever
Mm,
someone needed something, you may had not originally included that in your program, but it's like, okay, here's access to that. You were so generous. And
good.
then the community, that's a sweet, powerful combination.
Mm.
I hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. And I was going to say what you didn't know is I have to say that to myself, the no ma'am. I have to say it to
Mhm.
myself and I have to turn it back on me. Maybe not about podcasting or maybe not speaking to a microphone, but about other things. And so I think we all have, if you're listening now, think about the one thing that you're like, yeah, that's where I'm like, that what trips you up. Like you were saying, am I too old for this? Mine might be like, am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to make a mistake? Or somebody else might be like, I, I don't even know where to start, or just the lies then I have to say, no, ma'am, to myself. And I tell a story. This was another podcast episode I'll have to link to, but my son and I were going to a Mexican restaurant in a garage, in a gas station, because, they're all really good in the gas station. Now they are in a standalone, but, and I would say, you want to go get Mexican food? And he'd say, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. And so now I think of it like that, where if something, a lie comes up, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. We're not thinking that way. We're not thinking that way. So I have that sheet of paper too. So it was impactful for me too. But I love all this. And I think you answered that, where what was your favorite part? I think you loved it all, but was there one specific favorite part that you liked the most? I love hearing this, the fun part that you like.
I think for me, definitely was the relationship built with you.
Mm,
You made yourself so available, and
mm,
you had already researched, you had watched some of my Monday moments on Facebook in that community over there. You did all you could was to get to know me.
mm,
It wasn't just like, come fill my program.
mm,
It was, I
yeah,
think you need to have a podcast because,
mm,
and then I could Voxer you. And when we met weekly on Zoom, and even on our one-on-one, it was just, that relationship was just sweet to me. It was
mm.
just precious to me. I didn't know I needed it as badly as I did.
Mm,
And
me
so now
either.
that flight is over,
Mm,
it's like, I miss that. I
yeah,
miss you.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so
I miss you too.
I just, that part made
Mm,
all the other parts
mm,
amazing. But
mm. It
yeah.
was sweet for me too to get to know you, because we really didn't cross paths except
Mm-mm.
for the email, that you were on my email list, and I had seen you on Monday Moments. And so that was the Lord. That was the Lord that put this group together. It was nothing to do with me. I
Mm-mm.
obeyed and reached out to who I felt I needed to. And then God put y'all together, which was just of the Lord totally. And that's another thing I'm learning so much, is when we give the Lord, and when we give him really the control of our business and our lives, it's just sweet, because we know he's going to answer. He speaks. And so I love hearing that. That's awesome.
Right.
Okay. So now you've launched, and tell us a little bit about your podcast. Where can we find you? What is the name of it? We kind of talked a
Mhm.
little bit about it, and tell us what you want to accomplish through your podcast.
The podcast is called Your Next Brave Step. And I want women to feel like it's a mini coaching session, just
Mm,
me and them. And I share kind of what I go through with a real coaching client, like
yeah.
one-on-one,
Yeah.
just things that they're struggling with. I try
Mm,
to bring to the podcast,
yes.
and to help women see what life coaching really could be, maybe
Yeah.
potentially for them, that we could
Mhm.
work together.
Yeah.
Or like, even if all they do is watch or listen to the podcast,
Hmm.
they have tools
Yes.
to take their next brave step in whatever area that
Mm,
might be. It might be a health goal, it might be a relationship goal, or it's time for a transition and I'm not sure where to
mm,
go. Maybe there's just been a fear that's just been so deeply rooted that your time, it's just time.
mm,
It's time
mm,
to get rid of that thing. And so, just practical steps,
mhm,
hopefully with some encouragement along the way, that once they apply that and they take ownership of that, they will see God moving them out of
mm,
what I call the hiding cycle into a transformed life. That's where the freedom is.
mm,
And
mm,
that's what my passion and desire is for every woman that listens to the podcast, that you would experience freedom in just
mm.
a new, beautiful way.
So good. And
Mhm.
y'all will need to tune in, because you will hear more of that. You will hear more about what's keeping us stuck and the fear, because you have walked it. And so when you've walked it
Mhm.
out, we know that we can, you can help others, and we get to hear that. The practicality, especially the episode you did a couple of weeks ago about being stuck, and what we can do and the practical things we can do. That's what I love about it. And that it is like we're in a session with you, and it's delightful. So I am really excited. So your next brave step, y'all, we will put it in the show notes, but definitely we need to y'all go and listen and subscribe to, or follow. It's not subscribe, it's follow. And you can listen to Deb for sure. Okay. So Deb, one more question. We love that you have stepped out. You took your next brave step, which was to launch the podcast, because it had been on your Q1 and Q2, it was shifted along. I get it. I've done that with other things. And so you did do the next brave step, and you took that and modeled it for your clients. And so what do you think you are feeling now about the podcast, and now actually have launched it? And then now, months ago, you were afraid and not sure about the tech. And so now, how do you feel after launching?
I feel equipped. It's not the big, scary thing in the room anymore. I know, okay, this is what happens. I know the steps. And, that firstborn rule follower loves steps. I love all my ducks in a row. And I have that. I have my flight notebook. I have my pages tagged. I know exactly what to do. And so that has grown confidence in that. I still get a little nervous when I hit publish. And I asked a friend who she's been podcasting for years. I said, when does that feeling go away? She goes, oh, I never experienced that. I'm not sure when it goes away. So the jury's still out on that. I'll let you know when that feeling passes. But it's like, I know how to do this.
That's good.
It's not that big, scary thing I made it out to be.
Yeah.
And the sweet part is just hearing from people, reaching out. They've reached out and said, this, I needed to hear this. And so seeing it as a way of loving women and serving them really takes all the air out of the fear part.
That's good. I heard today that the ROI, the return on investment in serving others, cannot be matched. I mean, you can't, it's the beauty of serving others is incredible, and that we get to do that.
Yeah,
and
exactly. I tell my clients all the time that, staying the same or doing something new, there's discomfort either way. So let's choose the discomfort of growth. And that's what flight did for me. It brought me to a place of growth. Not that every day was easy, but staying the same, I would still be feeling miserable right now, but I'm not.
Well, I love you so much, Deb, and I am such a fan of your next brave step with your podcast, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing about it and sharing your story. I love hearing stories, and that God brought us together. So I just appreciate you so much. Can you share with people where people can find you online? I know your podcast, but where else?
Yep. On Facebook and Instagram, it's Deb Brown Coach. And my website is debbrowncoaching.com. Pretty easy.
It's great. And are you in the middle of I know you were doing was it your launch of your program that you were doing a challenge? I'm sorry, it was a 40-day challenge. Where are you in there in that?
It's called 40 Brave, and the women are kind of in the middle of that.
Great.
My coaching program is called Living Your Best Courageous Life. And so the 40 Brave comes out about 2 or 3 times a year. We focus more on health goals, and that's more of a group program. Live Your Best Courageous Life is one-on-one, and I love them both.
So good. So many resources. Y'all go follow Deb on Instagram, Deb Brown Coaching, and Facebook. And she does Monday Moments. And you want to check in with her there. You will be intrigued by her calm voice and just the sweetness of her spirit. And so I want you to do that. Thank you so much, Deb, for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Ren. It's been a joy. Love you so much.
I love you. Remember, friends, I'm here to help because life is too short to just wing it.